The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss, and Ambassador Lisa Reeves stepped onto the platform of the Galactic Council station. The artificial gravity felt different here, slightly lighter than Earth standard, making her steps feel almost bouncy. She straightened her dark blue diplomatic uniform and checked her translator device one more time. "Ambassador Reeves," a mechanical voice announced. "Please proceed to the Grand Chamber. The council session begins in 15 minutes. Lisa nodded to the floating drone that had spoken. She had been here before, but the massive space station still amazed her. It was the size of a small moon, home to thousands of different species from across the galaxy. The corridors were wide enough for the largest aliens to pass through, with separate lanes for different atmospheric requirements. As she walked, other beings moved past her. A group of Krell warriors marched by, their green scales gleaming under the station lights. Two delicate sylphid floated in their environmental bubbles, their wing-like appendages creating rainbow patterns. A massive Gorvak lumbered along the heavy gravity lane, each step making the floor vibrate slightly. Lisa kept her face neutral, but inside she felt the weight of her mission. Earth had been summoned to explain itself. Again, the other species couldn't understand why humans refused to join the Warrior Concord, the military alliance that included most of the galaxy's aggressive species. She reached the entrance to the Grand Chamber and paused. The doors were 50 feet tall, made of some material that looked like liquid metal but felt solid to the touch. Guards from 6 different species stood watch, each in their traditional armor. "Human ambassador," one of the guards said, a Varnak with 4 arms and purple skin. "You may enter." The doors slid open silently, revealing the Grand Chamber in all its glory. Lisa had to stop herself from gasping even though she'd seen it before. The room was enormous, big enough to hold a small city. The ceiling was a transparent dome showing the star-filled space outside. Rows upon rows of seats rose in tiers around a central platform, like an ancient amphitheater. Representatives from over 300 civilizations filled those seats. Each species had its own section, modified for their specific needs. Some areas were filled with water for aquatic species. Others had different atmospheres contained in force fields. The variety of life forms was staggering. Lisa walked down the main aisle toward her assigned position. She could feel hundreds of eyes, or whatever served as eyes, watching her. Whispers in countless languages filled the air, but her translator picked up fragments. "The humans are here. Cowards, all of them. They fear battle. Primitive thinking." She kept walking, her back straight, her steps measured. Let them whisper. They would learn soon enough. The human section was small, just a dozen seats. Earth was still a junior member of the Galactic Council, having only made contact 50 years ago. Lisa took her place at the front, where a small console allowed her to participate in the proceedings. At the center of the chamber, on a raised platform, stood the council leadership. 5 beings, each representing one of the founding species. But it was Executor Zethnara who drew everyone's attention. The Executor was unlike anything Lisa had seen before joining the diplomatic corps. Its body was a mass of translucent tentacles that constantly shifted and flowed. Patterns of light moved through its form like thoughts made visible. When it spoke, the patterns intensified, creating an almost hypnotic display. "The 4127th session of the Galactic Council is now in order," Zethnara announced. Its voice came through the translation systems as smooth and authoritative, but Lisa had learned to detect the subtle tones of condescension. "We begin with the matter of Earth's continued refusal to sign the Warrior Concord," the Executor continued. "Despite repeated invitations and the obvious benefits of membership, the human government maintains its position of neutrality. This has caused concern among many member species." Lisa felt her jaw tighten but kept her expression calm. Here it came. "Ambassador Thrak of the Military Confederation has requested this hearing. Ambassador, you may present your case." Thrak rose from his seat. The Krell warrior was impressive, standing 9 feet tall with scales that looked like polished armor. His 4 eyes focused on Lisa as he spoke. "Honored Council, the human question has gone unanswered for too long. They possess advanced technology. They have a significant military force. Yet they refuse to commit to the defense of galactic civilization. This is not just cowardice. It is dangerous selfishness. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Lisa noticed several species nodding or making their equivalent gestures of approval. The humans claim to want peace. Thrak continued, his voice growing louder. But peace is maintained through strength, through the willingness to fight. The warrior Concord has kept the galaxy stable for 1,000 years. Every major military power has joined, except Earth. He pointed one clawed finger at Lisa. I say the humans are afraid. They fear real combat. They hide behind their words and their treaties while others do the hard work of maintaining order. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some species cheered Thrak's words. Others remained silent, watching. Lisa noticed that the newer members of the council, those who had dealt with humans more recently, seemed less enthusiastic about the accusations. Executor Zethnara raised a tendril, and silence fell immediately. Ambassador Reeves, the council would hear Earth's response. Why does your species continue to reject membership in the warrior Concord? Lisa stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. She walked to the central speaking platform, her footsteps echoing in the sudden quiet. The platform adjusted to her height as she stepped onto it. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. Before I address the specific question, I would like to share something about human nature, something that might help you understand our position. Zethnara's patterns shifted, possibly indicating curiosity or annoyance. Proceed, Ambassador. 300 years ago, humanity nearly destroyed itself, Lisa said. She activated her console, and a holographic display appeared above the platform. Images of Earth from centuries past materialized. Cities in ruins, landscapes turned to ash, the aftermath of unimaginable destruction. We called it the Third World War. In just 3 years, we lost 2 billion people, not to natural disaster. Not to disease, not to famine, we killed them ourselves with weapons we created. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the water-breathing species seemed to have stopped moving in their tanks. We invented weapons that could crack the planet's crust. We created viruses that could rewrite DNA. We built machines that could think and kill on their own. We became so good at destruction that we almost succeeded in making ourselves extinct. Lisa changed the display. Now it showed images of Earth's recovery. New cities rising from the ashes, green forests reclaiming dead zones, monuments to the fallen. But we survived. We learned. We chose a different path. Ambassador Thrak interrupted, his scales rattling with impatience. This proves my point. Humans experience the weakness of uncontrolled warfare. Now you fear it. You lack the discipline to use military power properly. Lisa turned to face him directly. With respect, Ambassador, you misunderstand completely. We don't fear war because we are weak. We fear war because we know exactly how strong we can become when pushed to our limits. She gestured to the images still floating above the platform. Look at what we did to ourselves, to our own world, to our own species. Now imagine what we might do to an enemy. The silence in the chamber deepened. Lisa could see representatives leaning forward, their interest clearly piqued. But this is ancient history, said Ambassador Velix of the consortium. The insectoid being's mandibles clicked as it spoke. Surely modern humans have evolved beyond such primitive violence. Lisa smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Would you like me to tell you about the Saurian incident? Or perhaps the defense of New Haven? Recent events might be more illuminating. Executor Zethnara's patterns shifted rapidly. The Council has allocated 1 hour for this hearing, Ambassador. Please present your full explanation. Lisa nodded. Very well. Let me tell you why the galaxy should be grateful that humans choose peace, and why you should pray we never change our minds. Lisa took a deep breath and adjusted the holographic controls. The images above the platform changed, showing a blue and green planet floating in space, Earth as it appeared today. Let me start with a simple truth, she said, her voice steady. and clear. Humans are very good at war. Too good, in fact. That's why we work so hard to avoid it. A ripple of confusion moved through the chamber. Several ambassadors exchanged glances with their neighbors. 3 centuries ago, we discovered something about ourselves, Lisa continued. When humans fight, we don't just fight to win. We fight to completely destroy our enemies. We don't stop at victory. We continue until nothing remains. She changed the display again. Now it showed historical footage from Earth's past. Mushroom clouds rising over cities, biological weapons being deployed, cyber attacks bringing down entire nations. During our Third World War, we created weapons that didn't just kill people. They destroyed the land itself, made it poisonous for generations. We invented bombs that could vaporize cities in seconds. We made diseases that could spread across continents in days. Ambassador Thrak stood up again, his scales clicking with agitation. This is exactly why species need discipline. The warrior conquered teaches controlled warfare, honorable combat, not this chaos. Lisa turned to face him. Honorable combat? Let me tell you about human honor in war, Ambassador. When our children are threatened, when our homes are attacked, honor becomes a luxury we cannot afford. She pulled up new images, this time of human soldiers, civilians, and even children, fighting against overwhelming odds throughout history. Humans have a saying, all's fair in love and war. When we fight for survival, we use everything. We turn farming tools into weapons. We use our own bodies as shields. We sacrifice ourselves without hesitation if it means our loved ones might live. The Sylphid ambassador fluttered her wings nervously. But surely civilized beings can rise above such primitive instincts. Can they? Lisa asked. Let me tell you what happened when the Saurian Empire thought humans were weak. The hologram shifted to show a star map, with a small human colony marked on the edge of known space. 15 years ago, the Saurian Empire attacked our colony on Kepler 442b. They had a full battle fleet, 30 warships against our 3 defense vessels. By all military calculations, the colony should have fallen in hours. Lisa paused, looking around the chamber. She had everyone's attention now. The Saurians destroyed our defense ships in the first hour. Then they demanded surrender. Do you know what the colonists did? The chamber was silent. Even the constant background hum of life support systems seemed muted. They refused. And then, they fought with everything they had. Mining ships loaded with explosives rammed into Saurian dreadnoughts. Colonists in spacesuits jetted out to manually attach bombs to enemy hulls. Children, yes, children, hacked into Saurian communication networks and filled them with chaos. She brought up images from the battle. Civilian ships charging military vessels, improvised weapons being deployed. Ordinary people performing extraordinary acts of defiance. The Saurians called it terrorism. They said we violated the rules of warfare. They complained to this very council about human barbarism. Ambassador Velix clicked his mandibles. The records show the Saurians eventually withdrew, but at great cost to the human colony. Yes, Lisa agreed. We lost 60% of the colony's population, but the Saurians lost their entire fleet, every single ship. And do you know what their commander said in his final transmission? She played an audio file. A reptilian voice, translated into multiple languages, filled the chamber. We came to conquer warriors. We found demons instead. After that incident, Lisa continued, the Saurian Empire not only abandoned their expansion plans, they petitioned for a peace treaty with Earth. They've been our trading partners ever since. Executor's Ethanara's tentacles shifted in what might have been surprise. The council was told the Saurians withdrew for political reasons. They withdrew because they were terrified, Lisa said bluntly. They realized that if they pushed humans too far, we wouldn't just defend ourselves. We would hunt them down. We would find their homeworld. And we would end them. An uncomfortable silence fell over the chamber. Lisa let it stretch for several seconds before continuing. But here's what the council needs to understand. After the Saurian War, after we proved we could destroy a superior force through sheer determination and willingness to sacrifice everything, do you know what Earth did? She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. We sent medical aid to help treat Saurian survivors. We shared agricultural technology to help their border worlds recover from the conflict. We opened trade negotiations. We chose to build bridges instead of monuments to our victory. Ambassador Kree of the hegemony stood up. The crystalline being's form chimed as it moved. This makes no sense. You claim humans are terrible at war, yet you show mercy to defeated enemies? This is contradiction. No, Lisa said firmly. This is choice. We know what we're capable of in war. We've seen the monster we become when pushed too far. So we choose every day to be something else. To be builders instead of destroyers. Healers instead of killers. She pulled up more recent footage. Human. Aid workers helping on disaster-struck worlds. Earth ships evacuating refugees from conflict zones. Human mediators resolving disputes between other species. In the 50 years since we joined the galactic community, Earth has mediated 43 conflicts between member species. We've provided disaster relief to over 100 worlds. We've shared medical technology that has saved billions of lives across the galaxy. Yet you still refuse to join our military alliance, Thrak growled. You take the benefits of council membership while avoiding the responsibilities. Lisa's expression hardened. Responsibility? Let me tell you about human responsibility, Ambassador. We maintain the fourth largest military force in known space, not for conquest, not for intimidation, but to protect those who cannot protect themselves. She brought up tactical displays, showing Earth's fleet deployments. Our ships patrol the border regions where pirates prey on developing worlds. Our medical vessels respond to disasters faster than any conquered fleet. Our diplomatic corps has prevented more wars than your military alliance has fought. But without formal commitment. To the conquered, these actions mean nothing, insisted Ambassador Velix. They mean everything, Lisa countered. Because we do them by choice, not obligation. We help because we want to, not because a treaty forces us to. And that makes all the difference. She deactivated the hologram and stood in the center of the EU platform, looking small but somehow commanding attention from every being in the vast chamber. The warrior conquered operates on the principle that peace comes through strength, through the threat of violence, through the promise of retaliation. And for many species, that works. We don't judge that choice. Lisa paused, letting her words sink in. But humans have learned a different truth. We know that once you start down the path of violence, it's very hard to stop. We know that when humans go to war, we don't fight with restraint. We fight with everything we have, using every tool, every trick, every desperate measure we can imagine. She looked directly at Executor Zethnara. So we choose a different path. We prepare for war, yes. We maintain our strength. But we use it to build peace, not to threaten it. We extend our hand in friendship first, always, because we know what happens when that hand becomes a fist. The chamber remained quiet as Lisa's words hung in the air. Then Ambassador Thrak slammed his fist on his desk, the sound echoing through the vast room. Pretty words, he snarled. But words don't defend against invasion. Words don't stop aggressive species from taking what they want. Lisa nodded calmly. You're right, Ambassador. Words alone aren't enough. That's why we back them up with actions. Would you like me to tell you about New Haven? Several representatives shifted in their seats. The incident at New Haven was recent enough that many remembered the initial reports. 5 years ago, Lisa began. The Varnak hegemony invaded New Haven, one of Earth's closest allies. The Varnak brought the most advanced military force in the sector. They had plasma cannons that could vaporize mountains, antimatter bombs that could crack planetary cores, AI-controlled war machines that never missed, never tired, never showed mercy. She pulled up tactical displays of the Varnak fleet. The sight of those massive warships caused several younger ambassadors to whisper nervously. New Haven had a small defense force, maybe 1/10 the size of the invasion fleet. By all logical calculations, they should have surrendered immediately. Instead, they called for help. Lisa paused, looking around the chamber. The warrior, Concord discussed the situation for 3 days. They debated treaty obligations. They calculated acceptable losses. They formed committees to study the problem. Ambassador Thrax's scales darkened with embarrassment. The Krell had been leading those committees. Earth's response took 3 hours, Lisa continued. Our entire Third Fleet jumped to New Haven. No debate, no calculation of profit or loss. Our allies were in danger. That was all that mattered. She brought up images from the battle, but they weren't what anyone expected. Instead of massive fleet engagements, the display showed something else entirely. The Varnak expected a traditional battle. Ships facing ships. Weapons against weapons. They got something very different. Lisa smiled grimly. They got humans being creative. The images showed civilian cargo ships ramming warships, mining vessels using their industrial lasers as weapons, transport shuttles packed with explosives becoming guided missiles. Every human ship in the sector answered our call. Cargo haulers, mining vessels, private yachts, hospital ships, even a garbage scow, they all came to fight. She highlighted one particular image, a small passenger liner facing down a Varnak battlecruiser. This is the Evening Star, a cruise ship carrying 2,000 tourists. When they heard about the invasion, the captain asked for volunteers to evacuate the civilians. The entire crew stepped forward. So did half the passengers. The image changed, showing the cruise ship accelerating toward the enemy vessel. They evacuated the children and anyone who wanted to leave. Then they loaded the ship with every explosive material they could find, fuel reserves, oxygen tanks, even the alcohol from the ship's bars. Lisa's voice softened. The Evening Star hit that battlecruiser at 3/4 light speed. The explosion was visible from the planet's surface. The Varnak ship was completely destroyed. No one from the Evening Star survived. The chamber was utterly silent. But it wasn't just the space battle, Lisa continued. On the ground, New Haven's colonists fought too. Farmers turned fertilizer into bombs. Teachers organized children to disrupt enemy communications. Doctors poisoned their own medical supplies rather than let them fall into enemy hands. She brought up images of underground tunnels and hidden bunkers. The colonists dug tunnels. Miles and miles of tunnels. When the Varnak troops advanced, they found their vehicles falling into hidden pits, their supplies disappearing, their soldiers vanishing without a trace. Ambassador Velix chittered nervously. Surely this violates the conventions of warfare. Which conventions? Lisa asked. The ones written by species who've never faced extinction? The rules made by those who can afford to lose a battle and survive? She turned back to her presentation. After 2 weeks, the Varnak controlled most of New Haven's major cities. They announced victory. They started setting up their occupation, government. Lisa smiled. That's when things got interesting. New images appeared. Varnak vehicles exploding, supply depots burning, communication towers collapsing. Every night something exploded. Every morning more Varnak soldiers were missing. Children would walk up to checkpoints and ask innocent questions while their older siblings planted bombs. Elderly colonists would shuffle past patrols, memorizing positions and schedules. And the human fleet? Asked Executor Zethnara. We didn't fight the way the Varnak expected, Lisa replied. Instead of one massive battle, we attacked their supply lines. We ambushed their reinforcements. We made sure nothing got through to their occupation forces. She pulled up communication intercepts. After 3 months, we intercepted this message from the Varnak commander to his home government. Request: immediate evacuation. These humans are insane. They fight without rules, without honor, without end. My soldiers are terrified. They see enemies in every shadow, hear bombs in every noise. We cannot hold this planet. Lisa paused for effect. The Varnak hegemony had the most advanced military in the sector. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They had never lost a war. She deactivated the holographic display. They abandoned New Haven after 4 months. They've never attempted expansion since, and last year they applied to join Earth's defensive alliance. Ambassador Thrax stood again, clearly agitated. You speak of these actions with pride? This kind of warfare is exactly why species need the discipline of the Concord. Is it? Lisa challenged. Tell me, Ambassador, how many worlds has the Concord lost to invasion in the last decade? Thrax hesitated. 3 systems have fallen to various aggressors despite Concord protection. And how many worlds under Earth's protection have been successfully invaded? The Krell ambassador's scales darkened. None. None, Lisa repeated. Because potential aggressors know what happens when you truly threaten humans or their allies. They know we won't fight by their rules. We won't limit ourselves to honorable combat. We will do whatever it takes to protect those we care about, Gyo addressed the entire chamber now. You think our reluctance to join your concord comes from fear? From weakness? No, it comes from wisdom. We know that once we commit to a military alliance, once we accept your rules of war, we limit ourselves. We put chains on the very thing that makes us dangerous. Executor Zethnara's tentacles waved thoughtfully. You're saying human military effectiveness comes from not having rules? I'm saying it comes from being willing to break every rule when survival is at stake, Lisa corrected. The Conquered teaches that war should be civilized, controlled, limited. But when someone threatens to destroy your home, to kill your children, to end your species, civilization becomes optional. She pulled up one final image, a memorial on New Haven listing the names of those who died in the defense. 27,000 humans died defending New Haven. Civilians mostly. People who had no military training, no obligation to fight. They died anyway, because they chose to. Because when humans see injustice, when we see the strong attacking the weak, something inside us refuses to stand by and watch. Lisa looked directly at Ambassador Thrak. Your Concord would have negotiated, would have calculated acceptable losses, would have followed protocols and procedures, and New Haven would have fallen. She turned to address the full chamber. Humans chose differently. We chose to fight with everything we had, to sacrifice everything if necessary, and we won. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Lisa could see the conflict in many alien faces, respect for human dedication warring with horror at human methods. This is why we won't join your Concord, she concluded. Because we've learned that sometimes the only way to preserve peace is to be willing to wage total war. And that's a power that should never be given rules or limitations. She stepped back from the podium, her point made. The chamber erupted in heated discussion, but Lisa noticed something different in the tone. The dismissive contempt from earlier was gone, replaced by something that might have been understanding, or fear. The heated discussions continued for several minutes before Executor Zethnara raised a tendril for silence. The chamber gradually quieted, though tension still crackled in the air like static electricity. Ambassador Reeves, the executor began, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to deep blue. Your examples are disturbing. They paint humanity as a species without limits, without honor. How can the Council trust such beings? Lisa returned to the central platform, her expression thoughtful. You ask about trust, Executor. Let me ask you something in return. Who do you trust more? The guard dog that obeys every command? Or the one that knows when to break the rules to protect its family? She gestured to the assembled representatives. Many of you have guard species in your employ, species bred or trained for protection. Do you value the ones that follow orders blindly? Or the ones smart enough to recognize real threats? Ambassador, Cree chimed, the sound sharp and crystalline. There is wisdom in order. Chaos breeds destruction. Does it? Lisa asked. Or does rigid order make you predictable, easy to defeat? She activated her display again, showing a series of battle records. In the last century, the warrior Conquered has fought 18 major conflicts. You've won 14. Not a bad record. She changed the display. In the same period, Earth has been involved in 7 conflicts. We've won all 7. More importantly, in 5 of those cases, the mere threat of human involvement ended the conflict before major fighting began. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Ambassador Thrak stood again, his 4 eyes narrowing. You speak as if threats and intimidation are noble tactics. I speak of deterrence, Lisa corrected. There's a human saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We prepare so thoroughly, fight so completely when forced to, that most aggressors choose not to test us at all. She pulled up images of human military installations, but Something was different about them. Next to each military base was a school. Next to each weapons factory was a hospital. Next to each fleet yard was a research station. "Look at how we prepare for war," Lisa said. "Every military base we build includes civilian infrastructure, schools for the children of our soldiers, hospitals that serve both military and civilian populations, research facilities that develop technology for peace as well as war." She zoomed in on one particular image. "This is Fort Armstrong on Mars. It houses our second fleet. It also contains the largest agricultural research center in the solar system. The same scientists who improve our weapons also develop crops that can feed desert worlds." Ambassador Velix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "You blur the line between military and civilian purposely?" "We recognize that the line is already blurred," Lisa replied. "In total war, the kind humans wage when truly threatened, everyone becomes a soldier. So we prepare everyone. We educate everyone. We make sure every human understands both the cost of war and the skills to survive it." She brought up footage from human schools. Children learning basic first aid alongside mathematics. Teenagers studying conflict resolution and defensive tactics. University students taking courses in both diplomacy and strategic thinking. "We teach our children about our past wars, not just the victories but the horrors. They learn about the nuclear winter that followed our Third World War. They study the genetic plagues that killed millions. They understand what humans are capable of when we lose control." The Sylphid ambassador fluttered anxiously. "Such education must traumatize your young." "It's sobering them," Lisa said firmly. "It makes them understand why we work so hard for peace, why we exhausted every option before violence, why we fight so completely when we have no choice." She turned to face the entire chamber. "You fear us because we admit what we are, because we acknowledge the darkness in our nature instead of pretending it doesn't exist. But that acknowledgement is exactly what makes us trustworthy." Executor Zethanara's patterns shifted to a curious green. "Explain this logic." "A species that denies its capacity for violence is dangerous because they don't know their own limits," Lisa said. "They fight without understanding what they might become. Humans know exactly what we're capable of. We've seen our worst, we've survived it, and we've chosen to be better." She pulled up diplomatic records. "Look at Earth's treaties. We don't promise limited response to aggression. We promise total defense of our allies. We don't agree to measured retaliation. We commit to whatever force is necessary to end threats permanently. And yet," she continued, "we also commit the most resources to preventing conflicts. We have more diplomats per capita than any conquered member. We spend more on humanitarian aid than most species spend on their militaries. We host more refugees, mediate more disputes, provide more disaster relief than any 3 conquered members combined." Ambassador Thrax's scales rippled with frustration. "You speak in contradictions. Warriors who choose peace, destroyers who build, chaos that brings order. How can anyone understand such a species?" Lisa smiled slightly. "You don't need to understand us, you just need to recognize what we offer. We're the friend who will help you move at midnight, the neighbor who brings food when you're sick, the ally who will die defending your children. And yes, we're also the enemy who will burn worlds to ash if you threaten what we protect." She looked around the chamber, meeting as many eyes as she could. "The Warrior Concord offers you rules, structures, limits on warfare that make you feel safe. We offer something different. We offer the certainty that attacking our allies is suicide, that threatening our friends will unleash something you cannot control and cannot survive." The chamber fell silent again. Lisa could see the representatives processing her words, weighing the implications. "But more than that," she continued, her voice softening, "we offer you the chance to never find out what humans become in total war. We offer you friendship, trade, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration. We offer you the 1,000 benefits of peace, maintained by the simple understanding that the alternative is unthinkable." Executor Zethanara's tentacles waved slowly. "You're saying human friendship is valuable precisely because human enmity is terrifying?" "I'm saying we've looked into the abyss of our own nature," Lisa replied. "We've seen what humans become when pushed too far, and we've decided to build bridges instead of weapons whenever possible. To extend our hand in friendship first always. But we never forget that the same hand can become a fist. She deactivated her display and stood quietly on the platform. The choice is yours, honored representatives. You can continue to pressure Earth to join your conquered, to accept your limits on warfare. Or you can accept us as we are, friends who will do anything for peace, allies who will do anything for victory. The silence stretched for long moments. Lisa could see the representatives looking at each other, communicating in ways both obvious and subtle. The entire dynamic of the chamber had shifted. Where before there had been condescension and dismissal, now there was consideration and perhaps a touch of wariness. Finally, Ambassador Velik spoke. If Earth maintains its current position, allied but independent, helpful but unbound by our rules, can the Council trust you to act with restraint? Lisa's expression became serious. You can trust us to act with wisdom, to explore every peaceful option, to sacrifice much to avoid conflict. But if conflict becomes unavoidable, if our allies or our species face true threat, then no, you cannot trust us to show restraint. You can trust us to do whatever is necessary to end that threat. Permanently, she paused, letting her words sink in. The question is, would you really want allies who would do less? The question hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Ambassador Velik's compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights as he waited for other representatives to consider Lisa's words. Ambassador Thrak was the first to break the silence. His scales had shifted from their usual green to a darker shade, a sign of deep thought among his people. You ask if we would want allies who would do less. But the conquered exists precisely to prevent the kind of unlimited warfare you describe. Lisa nodded slowly. And how well has that worked, Ambassador? Tell me, when the Zarathi Empire attacked the outer colonies 3 years ago, how long did the Concord debate before acting? Thrak's scales darkened further. The situation was complex. There were treaty considerations. 6 weeks, Lisa said flatly. The conquered debated for 6 weeks while colonies burned, while people died, while the Zarathi grew bolder with each day of inaction. She turned to address the full chamber. When Earth heard about the attacks, we sent humanitarian aid within 48 hours. Not warships. We weren't asked for military help. Just food, medicine, and rescue teams, because while you debated treaties, people were suffering. Executor Zethnara's tentacles shifted to yellow, indicating curiosity. The records show Earth's aid missions saved thousands of lives, without being asked, without expecting payment or political favor. Because it was the right thing to do, Lisa said simply. That's what you don't understand about humans. We don't need rules to tell us when to help. We don't need treaties to know when to fight injustice. We act because our conscience demands it. She pulled up her final presentation, showing Earth from space once more. For 300 years we've chosen peace. Not because we're weak, not because we're afraid, but because we know the alternative. The image zoomed in, showing cities, forests, oceans teeming with life. We rebuilt our world from the ashes of our own making. We learned to channel our aggression into exploration, our competitiveness into science, our tribalism into unity against common challenges. She changed the view to show human settlements across the galaxy. We've spread across the stars, not as conquerors but as neighbors. We've shared our technology freely. Our medical advances have saved billions of lives across hundreds of species. Our agricultural techniques feed worlds that once knew only famine. Lisa's voice hardened slightly. But make no mistake, the same drive that makes us reach for the stars, that makes us push the boundaries of science, that makes us risk everything to save strangers, that same drive makes us terrifying in war. She looked directly at Ambassador Thrak. You want us to join your conquered, to accept your rules of engagement, to limit ourselves to acceptable levels of force. But I ask you, when has limiting human potential ever made the galaxy safer? She pulled up historical data. Before First Contact, human wars were getting more destructive with each generation. Each conflict pushed us to develop worse weapons, more efficient ways to kill. It was only when we chose, freely chose, to direct that creativity elsewhere, that we found peace. The display showed human innovations, medical breakthroughs, engineering marvels, artistic achievements. Give humans rules and we'll find ways around them. Give us limits and we'll push past them. Give us boundaries and we'll break them. That's our nature. She paused, letting that sink in. So Earth offers something different. We offer you humans, who have chosen peace, who wake up every day and decide not to use their full potential for destruction, who channel their aggression into protection, their creativity into solutions, their tribalism into defending the weak. Ambassador Kree stood, his crystalline form catching the light. But without formal constraints, what prevents humans from changing this choice? Nothing, Lisa admitted. And everything. We remember our past. We see our potential future. We know what we become in total war. And we choose every day to be better. That choice, freely made, constantly renewed, is stronger than any treaty. She gestured to the chamber. Look around you. How many species here joined the Concord out of fear? How many signed your treaties because they had no choice? Now ask yourself, who would you rather have as an ally? Someone forced to help you or someone who chooses to? The murmuring in the chamber grew louder. Lisa could see representatives conferring with their delegations, some accessing their own historical records, others simply sitting in thought. Ambassador Thrak stood once more. You present a compelling argument, Ambassador Reeves, but the Council must consider the safety of all member species, and unbound humanity remains a potential threat. Lisa smiled, but there was steel in her expression. True, we are a potential threat, just as a fusion reactor is a potential bomb, just as a medical lab is a potential bioweapons facility, just as a peaceful star is a potential supernova. The potential for destruction exists in many things. The question is whether you trust us to manage that potential. She straightened her uniform and addressed the full chamber one final time. Earth makes this promise to the Galactic Council. We will remain your friends, your allies, your protectors. We will continue to share our knowledge, our resources, our strength. We will stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. We will explore, build, heal, and grow alongside you. Her voice dropped lower, carrying clearly through the translation systems. But we will not put chains on what makes us effective guardians. We will not limit our responses to those who threaten peace. We will not promise restraint in the face of extinction, because sometimes the greatest mercy is showing no mercy to those who offer none. Lisa stepped back from the podium. The motion before the Council is whether to continue pressuring Earth to join the warrior conquered. I've presented our position. The choice is yours. Executor Zethnara's tentacles shifted through several colors before settling on a deep purple. The Council will now deliberate. Ambassador Reeves, thank you for your illuminating presentation. As Lisa returned to her seat, she caught fragments of conversation around the chamber. The tone had changed completely from the beginning of the session. Where before there had been dismissal and condescension, now there was respect mixed with a healthy dose of caution. 3 hours later, Executor Zethnara called the chamber to order. The Council has reached a decision. The motion to pressure Earth into joining the Warrior Concord is denied. Furthermore, the Council officially recognizes Earth's unique position as an independent ally, bound by conscience rather than treaty. The Executor's patterns shifted to a formal blue. Let the record show that Earth's approach to warfare and peace, while unconventional, has proven effective in protecting both human and allied interests. The Council accepts humanity's offer of friendship and protection, understanding the implications of that relationship. Lisa stood and bowed slightly. Earth appreciates the Council's wisdom and understanding. We look forward to continued cooperation and friendship with all member species. As the session ended and representatives began filing out, several ambassadors approached Lisa. Some offered formal congratulations. Others simply nodded with newfound respect. Ambassador Thrak was among the last to approach. Your words today will be studied by military academies across the galaxy, he said quietly. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a terrifying one. Lisa smiled. Perhaps both, Ambassador. The truth often is. In the months that followed, applications for defensive alliances with Earth increased by 300%. Border incidents decreased by 40%. And in secure military installations across the galaxy, strategic planners updated their files on humanity, marking them not as pacifist or neutral, but with a new classification. Sleeping giant, do not disturb. Earth continued its mission of peace, exploration, and protection. Human ships patrolled trade routes. Human doctors fought plagues on distant worlds. Human diplomats mediated conflicts. And in underground bunkers on Earth and its colonies, quietly maintained and constantly updated, contingency plans waited, just in case someone forgot that human patience, while vast, was not infinite. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. The most dangerous warriors are not those who love war, but those who love peace enough to wage war without limits when that peace is threatened. And humanity, for all its talk of friendship and cooperation, remained the most dangerous species in known space. They simply chose not to prove it.